Every minute, your brain produces over 60,000 thoughts, and 90% of them are the same ones you had yesterday. We call it thinking, but to your nervous system, it's suffocation. In 2025, a group of Stanford neuroscientists discovered that when your prefrontal cortex loops in worry, your heartbeat and brain waves start echoing each other, like two mirrors reflecting the same noise. What's shocking is that a 4,000-year-old meditation text described the exact same phenomenon, but in poetic language. The mind, left untrained, will weave the same cloth until the thread breaks. Today, science finally knows how to unweave it in just 7 minutes. We live in an age of endless input. Our screens glow before sunrise, and the first thing we consume each day isn't food, it's thought. Messages, deadlines, notifications, and expectations flood the brain faster than it can filter. Neuroscientists at Harvard and Oxford now say our minds are overstimulated but underprocessed. Each thought triggers a small release of dopamine, not for achievement, but for anticipation. So even as we scroll, plan, or replay conversations, the brain keeps rewarding the act of thinking about thinking. It's why you can feel exhausted without moving a muscle. Inside the lab, researchers call this the default mode network, a set of regions that light up when the mind wanders or self-reflects. But ancient texts from India's Vedic traditions describe the same cycle as vrittis, the whirlpools of the mind. 4,000 years before fMRI machines, sages were warning that too much self-talk steals life force. Today, science can finally measure that drain. Studies at Stanford Center for Cognitive Neuroscience show that chronic overthinking raises cortisol levels and reduces prefrontal clarity, literally fogging the region that decides, is this important or not? That's why you can't simply tell yourself to stop overthinking. Your biology doesn't obey language, it obeys rhythm. And rhythm is exactly what the ancients mastered. They discovered that a single cyclic pattern, a precise rhythm of breath, gaze, and awareness, can pull the brain out of its self-loop in minutes. It doesn't suppress thoughts, it dissolves the tension behind them. Now, modern EEG scans are proving it. When this pattern is practiced, brain waves move from chaotic beta to calm alpha and coherent theta, the same signature found in experienced meditators and elite athletes in flow states. Here's what both scientists and sages found when they studied it closely, and how 7 minutes of it can quiet the noise your mind calls you. Overthinking isn't too many thoughts. It's a stuck loop between three systems. A, the default mode network, DMN. When the mind isn't anchored to a task, regions involved in self-talk and time travel, rumination about the past, simulation of the future, light up. That's useful for reflection, but in overload, it turns into mental static. View it like a room where two radios are playing at once, your narration and your prediction engine. B, the autonomic brake. Your heart and lungs are constantly signaling the brain about internal conditions. When you're tense, breathing drifts higher in the chest, heart rate variability drops, and the sympathetic system pushes you toward vigilance. The brain reads those body signals as something might be wrong, which feeds more checking, analyzing, and rehearsing. C, sensory gates. The thalamus, your brain's relay, decides what inputs to prioritize. Under stress, the gates bias toward threat scanning. That's why small noises, unread notifications, or a vague memory suddenly feel important. The world looks louder because the gates are wider for the wrong things. Spiritually, traditions describe this as identification, mistaking the stream of thoughts for the self. Physiologically, it's a feedback loop. Body tension tells the brain to watch for danger. The brain watches, the body tightens more. Why the 4,000-year practice works across cultures. One compact pattern keeps reappearing. Rhythm plus soft focus plus embodied awareness. It shows up in chant, prayer beads, mantra recitation, rosaries, breath counting, even in martial stillness. Strip away the language and you get a single principle. Create a strong, predictable internal signal, so the brain has something clearer than worry to sync with. Here's how each element breaks the loop. A, rhythm. The body sets the metronome. Slow, regular cycles, whether through breath, hum, or bead pacing, do two things. First, they stimulate baroreceptors in the chest and neck that inform the brain about pressure changes with each heartbeat. When those cycles are steady, signals to the brainstem nudge the vagal system, easing heart rate and smoothing variability. Second, rhythm reduces uncertainty. Prediction circuits settle when the next beat is obvious. That drops noradrenaline from the locus coeruleus, the pay attention to this chemical that spikes during worry. B. Soft focus. The eyes quiet the amygdala. Ancient practices often widen the gaze. Candle at a distance, horizon view, eyelids relaxed. Panoramic unfocused view reduces microsaccades and shrinks the brain's threat tagging. Practically, tunnel vision says hunt or hide. Panoramic vision says you're safe. With safety signaled, the thalamus stops over-prioritizing noise. C. Embodied awareness. Touch anchors the loop. Touching beads, feeling the pulse in a fingertip, or resting palms on the lower rib cage sends clean, high-bandwidth information up to the cortex. It's undeniable and present. The DMN can't outthink a warm palm rising and falling in real time. It must either entrain to that signal or let go. D. Gentle sound. Optional but potent. Humming, intoning a simple vowel, or whisper chanting adds vibration in the chest and face. That mechanically stimulates sinus and vagal pathways and masks internal verbal chatter. The brain can't fully generate rumination and tonal output at once. One becomes background. Notice what's missing, force or suppression. The practice doesn't fight thoughts. It starves the loop by offering the brain a stronger rhythm to join. How to apply it without tutorial vibes. Think of the next 7 minutes as a scene, not a set of steps. We're going to shift the brain's soundtrack from static to signal. Minute 01. Arrive. Sit where your back feels supported. Let your eyes soften as if you're looking through a window rather than at it. Picture a snow globe you just shook. Don't fix the flakes. Notice gravity doing the work. Minute 1 to 3. Establish the metronome. Choose a rhythm you can keep without effort. Breath is easiest. A smooth, quiet cycle that feels round, not boxy. Let the lower ribs expand slightly on the way in, then soften on the way out. If breath cues you to overthink, use beads or your own pulse as the meter. The goal is predictability, not depth. As the body finds the groove, tiny muscles in the neck and face stop bracing. You might notice jaw space, a hint of saliva, a warmer nose. Those are green lights from the autonomic brake. Minute 3 to 5. Soften the focus, widen the field. Keep the rhythm in the background and let your gaze grow panoramic. You're not staring at nothing. You're seeing everything gently. Edges lose urgency. The thalamus hears a new message. No single input is an emergency. Thoughts will still pass. Don't label them. Give them the same soft focus you've given the room. The most powerful thing here is not caring whether the mind is quiet. You're training the gates, not winning a contest. Minute 5 to 6, touch what's real. Place one hand where you feel movement most clearly. Lower ribs, belly, or over your heart. Feel one complete cycle. Rise, pause, fall, pause. If a word wants to accompany it, keep it elemental. Here on the rise, now on the fall. Or a neutral tone, a faint hum you can barely hear. That tactile map puts the DMN in the passenger seat. It doesn't matter what you think about the cycle. The cycle is happening. The brain prefers data to opinions. Minute 6 to 7, close the loop. Let the rhythm keep going by itself while you test a tiny action. Ask one precise question. What matters in the next hour? Don't make a plan. Wait for a single verb to surface. Email, stretch, write, cook, call. When it appears, picture yourself doing just the first 30 seconds of it. Then stop the scene. You've retuned motivation from abstract rumination to embodied action. What this does, the measurable part. Heart-brain coherence rises. The rhythm stabilizes heart rate variability, which the brain experiences as safety. Safe brains prioritize clarity over prediction. Noradrenaline resets. With fewer surprise signals, baseline arousal drifts down. The mind regains selective attention. You can choose a target and hold it. DMN quiets, task networks wake. Self-talk loses dominance. Circuits for sensing, timing, and executive function reclaim bandwidth. Subjective time slows. When interoceptive signals, breath, pulse, touch are strong, internal clocks lengthen. That's why a single minute can feel spacious again. Spiritual translation. Identification loosens. You still have thoughts, but you're not inside them. You're the observer who can pick one and move. How to keep it alive without ritualizing it to death. Pair it. Attach the 7-minute scene to something that already happens. After your first coffee, before opening messages, or right when a meeting ends. Measure by feel, not minutes. The cue you're done isn't a timer. It's when the body feels quietly heavy and quietly bright at the same time. It's micro resets. 2 panoramic exhales and a palm on the ribs before you hit send can prevent an hour of spiraling. Don't chase silence. You're training signal selection, not blankness. Some days the room will be noisier. On those days, the win is simply keeping the metronome. In 7 minutes, you didn't defeat overthinking. You changed the conditions that feed it. The brain followed a clearer rhythm than worry could offer. That's the ancient insight and the modern mechanism. When the body plays a steady song, the mind prefers to sing along. Something subtle happens when the noise fades. At first, it's just the absence of pressure. But then, awareness widens. In a 2023 Harvard Mind-Body Lab study, participants who practiced rhythmic breathing and panoramic focus for 7 minutes a day showed a 32% reduction in stress biomarkers and increased alpha coherence. The same brain signature seen in deep creative flow. They described the change in simple words. My thoughts are still there, but they don't own me anymore. This is the quiet transformation science can now measure, and sages could only describe through metaphor. After a week of practice, subjects reported fewer intrusive thoughts and less reactivity. The amygdala, once hyperactive during overthinking, now fired less often. Cortisol, the chemical of threat, dropped, but something else rose: interoceptive awareness, the brain's ability to sense what's happening inside the body. In ancient Sanskrit, that awareness was called pratyahara, the return of the senses inward. Modern imaging calls it integration. It's when the prefrontal cortex, responsible for rational thought, finally syncs with the insula, which interprets bodily signals. The mind stops fighting the body and starts listening to it. That's when a kind of inner silence appears. Not emptiness, but alignment. A student at MIT who joined a pilot study said something remarkable. I didn't become less busy. I just stopped being busy inside. Even outside the lab, these shifts are visible. People report falling asleep faster, reacting less to criticism, even feeling time expand during moments of stress. It's as if the nervous system learns that calm isn't a luxury. It's the default state we forgot to access. Ancient teachers described this exact turning point, when the mind no longer tries to control reality, but to cooperate with it. Modern neuroscience would call that coherence, the alignment of electrical, chemical, and rhythmic systems toward a shared signal of safety. When behavior changes at the cellular level, awareness follows. The loop breaks not through willpower, but through resonance. Because overthinking was never the enemy. It was the body's last attempt to find rhythm again. And now, you've given it one. Most people spend their lives trying to fix the mind by thinking more. But the mind doesn't heal through effort. It heals through signal. When you gave your body rhythm, breath, and space, you weren't escaping thoughts. You were giving the brain the data it's been begging for. Safety. You don't need a new life. You need to see your current one with new chemistry. When your heart and breath start keeping time again, even ordinary moments feel different. The same desk, the same people, the same problems. Yet the noise around them no longer decides how you feel inside. That's the quiet revolution this 7-minute practice begins. It's not about becoming calm. It's about remembering you already are. Try it for 7 days. Don't chase silence or perfection. Just repeat the rhythm once a day wherever you are. Notice what changes. Does your sleep deepen? Do thoughts feel less sticky? Does focus return without a fight? Then tell me what you felt. Your story might help someone else find their first moment of stillness in years. Because ancient wisdom and modern science aren't opposites. They're two languages describing the same experience. One speaks in molecules, the other in metaphors. And both are pointing to the same truth. Your biology isn't separate from wisdom. It's proof of it.